Hey everyone. So I just wanted to start this episode off by saying thank you so much for all of your really, really kind, warm, and welcoming comments on episode number one. I haven't had a chance to respond to each of you individually, but I did take a look. Sometimes on social media, I don't even look at my responses because I don't want to deal with the energy drain and the negativity, sometimes the back and forth. So it was nice to see that almost everybody had nothing but nice things to say, and it's just nice being heard because I feel like over the past few years I've been talking to a brick wall. So thank you so much for listening. This episode is going to be a different format. I'm going to be interviewing a guy who goes by the name of Seven Seas. You can find him on X. That's how I found him. He is a deep dive researcher. He is a dot connector beyond a dot connector. I don't know how he has time to do anything else. It's pretty incredible. So I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. All right, everybody. We just had what, 2 hours of technical difficulty? The powers that be do not want us to have this freaking conversation.
Not at all.
So, no. So today I'm joined by Seven Seas, and he is the one of the best researchers I've seen on the internet when it comes to a few different topics. Peter Thiel is who we're going to be talking about today, but I think I found you because you were talking about the crypto scam, which we can talk about on another episode. You know so much about that as well. But let's dive into your thoughts on Peter Thiel and what he's done as far as this election goes.
Yeah, absolutely. After learning about Peter Thiel through his connections through Vance, I started to do some digging, and I can actually I have this web that I've started. I'm sure you've seen a
Oh my
couple of
God. Yes, that's why I call you. You're the dot connect. So when I introduced you in my other video, I called you the dot connector of dot connectors because you make these webs that are so intricate and they just go on and on and on. And it's funny because I saw somebody who commented on one of them and said, like, you're a schizophrenic. You need a life or something like that.
Yeah, I get a lot of weird looks because you know that like Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme with like Charlie where he's got the
Yes,
red
and he's
strings.
writing on the board.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always feel like that, and people give me the same expression of like, "Are you okay?" whenever I start to open this, and I'm like, honestly, this is fun for me. Like
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here like, exclusively collecting rainwater or like, canning food and prepping for the end times, or it's just I'm just following money, and
Yeah.
it's fun to me because it's like it seems like it's never ending,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and that's kind of what's led a lot of my fascination is the OCD of like I need to get to the end at some point, and it's just led me. I mean, we have ties to like the Obama administration, all the way back to George Bush. We like Ethereum is tied into it as well. The mortgage crisis is like 5 degrees away from Peter Thiel. The junk bond crisis, like there's so much that's involved, and I could actually share my screen if you'd like. And
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
all right, how is that for you?
That's great.
All right. Um, so when I was looking into Peter Thiel, the biggest indicator that he is somebody that is probably not got our best interests at heart is his connections to Palantir and things like that, where he's been working hand in hand with the CIA and entities like InQtel and things like that for decades.
Yep.
So, just going through here, I started to map out, and this is all like open information on his Wikipedia and everything. Is it mirrored for you by chance, or?
All I can see is just the white square with Peter Thiel's face in it, and then the web that you started to create coming out. There's no mirrored image, no.
Got it. Okay, perfect. But yeah, so I looked over here into like Palantir and realizing that this connected directly with something called Founders Fund, which has been around at least since the early 2000s. They made a lot of very early investments in things that ended up becoming very large. In 2010, they invested in Spotify, which grew into what it is today. And that is how, everyone is always talking about Joe Rogan not being beholden to interests. Well,
That
Joe,
explains it.
yeah, Joe Rogan got $250 million from Spotify, which is getting its money from things like Founders Fund. And that's
Yeah,
why.
and
Go
it's
ahead.
it's interesting because before we had this meeting, I was, doing uh a dive on everything that Peter Thiel's a part of. And when I Googled Peter Thiel Spotify, it actually
Mhm.
gives me like no information on that at all. But I guess it's because it's directed through Founders Fund, and that's
Mhm.
how they use it as a cover up.
And that's where you'll start to see like even further as you go, like they're hiding behind these layers of NGOs and shell companies and silicon VCs, so that their name isn't everywhere. But once you start seeing, oh, this person's on the board of this company, but they also worked here and then have contracts with this thing and start to make those connections, those are the things that they're banking on people not doing, right?
Right.
um
Which
because
people aren't unless
right.
they're people like you.
Well, I don't have much better else to do with my time than look for the truth. So, um, but yeah, even things like Lyft, Postmates, that Poly Market thing that people were using this year to like bet on the election.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Founders Fund invested in that and
No
started that.
freaking way. And like,
Yep.
wasn't it like 95% of people were betting on Trump
Yep.
too? Which that number just seems like I, I think I think it was more like a 50-50 split. Even I know a lot of people who voted for Trump and they're like, oh, they're gonna rig it again. Kamala's gonna get it. So for it to be that high, it's like, why is that?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, seeing this like direct connection to Peter Thiel and his explicit interests in having Trump in office, I mean, it just seems like a giant psyop. It's like, look at all these. It's in sales, there's this thing called Jones effect, which is you showcase other people having like used it or purchased this product, like testimonials and things. This is exactly that kind of thing to like sell you the narrative that he's winning, so that when they coronate him like they have, nobody
Yep.
questions it.
Yeah, well, and the big thing is when I mention his name to alt-right personalities and just Republicans in my life, they're like, "Well, he started Rumble and that's the alternative platform. That's the free speech platform." And then it's like that's where you're stopping and not looking. All it takes is 5 minutes to lift the hatch and go, okay, there's a little bit more to see here. I mean, I obviously don't know as much as you do, but like there's way more to know within 5 minutes of Google research.
Yeah, and I see this a lot, and I can't help but admit that I'm also sometimes a little guilty. But I feel like people have stopped playing devil's advocate for themselves because they're always convinced they're advocating against the devil, right?
Yeah.
um, and it's like whataboutism and things like that that lead to basically just shutting this whole conversation down. You
Yes.
start to talk about, well, Trump has ties to Peter Thiel and Miriam Edelson and all these other people, and they're like, yeah, but Kamala, and it's like, well, we're not talking about Kamala.
I
She has
know.
her own list
I
of
know.
reasons why she
No,
sucks.
and then they always the people on the right always use the George Soros card against the leftists. But didn't Trump just hire somebody who worked for George Soros for like 30 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're all
Um,
connected.
Believe it or not, I think I might have actually figured out the narrative from like 2016 to 2024 and sort of how all of that came about, like even introducing Trump into the zeitgeist, the reason why he won in 2016 and everything like that. Um, and, you know, obviously, I don't have all of the pertinent information, but when you look at, you know, Peter Thiel being here and investing in Valar Ventures is a capital that he did, as well as Clarium Capital. You know, he was an early investor in Facebook, which we all know Mark Zuckerberg openly admitted to coordinating with the government to manipulate election results. A lot of people don't know that Mark Zuckerberg came from the Center for Talented Youth from Johns Hopkins University,
Okay.
where people like Lady Gaga, Marquez Brownlee from MKBHD, they all came from that program. Andrew Yang is from that program.
Wow.
And it's kind of funny because in 2017, the Johns Hopkins University released a study for something called the SPARS pandemic,
Yeah.
which,
Yeah.
and you know, that's the whole
Yeah. The whole
scenario
COVID
planning.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were the ones, it even says like right here, October 2017, before there was any sort of mention of Wuhan facility or anything like that in China. And you follow that over to here with the COVID-19 pandemic, and you can see where Trump had appointed Steve Mnuchin. Steve Mnuchin used to work directly for George Soros at One
Mm-hmm.
West Bank.
Mm-hmm.
And they got in a lot of trouble in California, where Kamala Harris chose not to prosecute him in 2013.
I think I recently heard about that yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, you think, why did Joe Biden pick Kamala Harris, the most unlikable person during the 2020 elections, to be his running mate? And then you start to realize Kamala Harris being married to Doug Imhoff and him being associated with DLA Piper, who not only represented Smartmatic and Dominion in their election lawsuits, but represented Hillary Clinton in the email case.
Oh my freaking God.
And he only just left there when she got given the vice president spot because it was a conflict of interest at that point.
Right. Right.
And that gets into like the SGO corporation that owns Smartmatic, in coordination with DLA Piper, is being run by this guy named Mark Moloch Brown, who works at the Open Society and did so during Biden's campaign. And you have Jared Thomas, who was he was a lobbyist on behalf of Dominion, ended up getting appointed to Brian Kemp, who was the attorney general for Georgia, appointed to his office. They decided to still use Dominion voting machines even after finding voting fraud in Venezuela back in like 2010,
Yep.
2013.
Yep.
Gave them $107 million voting contract to still use them anyway. And that's how we got the Georgia election results and the whole Biden stole the election narrative. And
Right.
I think it created this like underdog narrative that we're seeing now with Trump.
Absolutely. Oh, it's so crazy looking back on it because it's like, man, they were really thinking 20 steps ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's scary when you think about this. You know, you look back at like the Federal Reserve was started 100 years ago. And I think that was part of whatever this is, you know.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
going even further to like tie Peter Thiel all into the 2020 election, because I know it's kind of like a loose thing with the John Hopkins thing. Stacey Abrams being in Georgia during the 2016-2020 election, a lot of people are not a huge fan of hers.
Yeah.
She sits directly on the Bilderberg steering committee with Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, the CEO of Palantir, and Eric Schmidt of Google.
And I saw Larry Fink was very closely tied to her if you go back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Uh, where did? Sorry, I lose my place sometimes. It's so bad.
yeah, I'll say that's quite the map.
So a lot of like the most notable names, Larry Fink, George. So I haven't like built out from them because they're
Yeah,
their own monster in and of itself.
sure.
But Larry Fink, obviously being tied to BlackRock, is they're responsible for a lot of indirect funding um, to the Democratic Party. The DNC Act Blue is basically like a Democratic slush fund where I'll be honest, I went there for a couple days trying to track all of the money in and out of that, where you'll see like $5 here from this person, $10 here from this person. There's no way to keep track of those dollars. Like the
Mm-hmm.
$1 I put in, I can't see where my one single dollar is going anywhere and ends up. And I think that's where they start to muddy a lot of the waters here, because then
Sure.
you have people like Eric Kessler, who worked for Hillary and Bill Clinton, being tied into like Arabella Advisors and the New Venture Fund, which comes from Accountable US, where you get Charles Koch and Leonardo Leo and people like Bill Ackman start getting involved. And then you mentioned Rumble earlier.
Yeah.
They're tied all up in this. Chris Pavlovsky is paid off by Vivek Ramaswamy and JD Vance and Peter Thiel directly. And it gets messy.
It gets messy and people see that, okay, like I was watching JD Vance on Joe Rogan the other day. And if I didn't have the knowledge that I had, I could see where the right gets like, they're like, oh, well, he's a likable guy. He seems like the everyman. He's from Ohio. He was raised by a grandmother who had an opioid addiction, or his mother, whichever it was. Um, and he just seems like a likable guy. But when you really dig, there's so much dirt.
Yeah. I what really is crazy to me is like the whole hillbilly elegy thing in the first place. Like this guy came out of nowhere being critical of Donald Trump in what 2016, and then right before he runs for office, Netflix decides to do a movie deal about his life story and put it on there for people to learn who this guy is from their lens or whatever. It's
Right.
insane.
Right.
Um,
So, do you think that Peter Thiel had one of the major hands in getting Donald Trump selected this election?
Absolutely. I think that
Yeah.
when you look at people like Elon Musk, who has backed Donald Trump, I think 110%, just actually worked his way into the government regulation position where he's going to be hiring and firing the people that regulated his companies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, things like him buying Twitter and things like that. Peter Thiel and Elon Musk have been involved with each other since the 90s.
From PayPal, right? Was that how they started?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Elon Musk actually had like started his own company called X.com
Yeah.
and was trying to do the whole online banking thing. And Peter Thiel came in and basically bought it out from under him with like a leveraged buyout thing. Um, he learned that from like the Lexel Durham attorneys and stuff in the 80s, because they basically started that and then they funded his like Apollo group and things like, and that's where he started to get this like, oh, I'll just come in, buy up all the stock, and then now I own the company, and that concept. But uh when you look into Elon, you can see that, I mean, Peter Thiel has invested through Founders Fund in SpaceX. They're invested in Tesla. They're invested in his Neuralink program, the Boring Company with his tunnel thing, OpenAI when Elon Musk was a part of that before stepping away. Peter Thiel was throwing money at that. He's throwing money at the XAI Grok thing that Elon's building. It's like every single thing Elon has ever started, Peter Thiel's just giving him a blank check and saying, "Here you go."
No, and it seems like ultimately, our democracy is over with these people involved in um, Trump's presidency coming up, because it seems like this is the true beginning of the technocracy with how much power and leverage these guys have.
Absolutely. Like the explosion of AI, I think, especially with the timing, wasn't a mistake.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's to introduce the concept of, I always like to go back to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. How everyone event they build this super monolithic AI and they're like, what's the answer to the universe? Or like depending on this non-human thing, no accountability or insight into how it works or thinks or the programming to like inherently trust that with
Yes.
everything. And that's what I think they're kind of banking on here. Um, Two, with the way things are going, what's going to be really interesting to see is where we're going to be at the end of Trump's term. When you start to look at like all of his dealings with, directly with Netanyahu, and you look into like the Abraham Accords and how they moved the embassy for Israel in the U.S. into Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
They changed Golan Heights, which was
The Trump
where,
Trump
yeah,
heights, right?
Trump Heights.
Unbelievable. So many
And
people don't know about that. That's like huge news.
yeah, and it's crazy because especially when you consider Trump's pull with the Christian demographic, Golan Heights is like a sacred place in the Christian Bible where
Yep.
they claim that like that's where Jesus first revealed that he was the Messiah,
Yep.
and now they're just okay with him handing that over and renaming it and erasing that history and all this, but
Yeah, that's
still,
over 2,000 years of freaking history.
yeah. And Israel is another beast in and of itself.
Yeah.
I think a
Well,
lot.
and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are clearly clearly Israel first. It doesn't take that much research to know that. I mean, with Peter Thiel and Palantir and everything that's happening in Gaza, and
Yeah.
then Elon Musk, buddy buddy with Netanyahu.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's that's they're all Israel first.
Yeah. I remember when Netanyahu was coming to speak to Congress, and Elon Musk was like going up like he's about to sit on Santa's lap or something, and I was like, this should be embarrassing for you to behave this way.
They
But
don't care because they don't care because it's like, if people like us see it and we call it out, they know we're such a small portion of the population who can actually see through it. And then for the other 95% of people who can't, that's why they're like, oh, whatever, we're gonna do
that's
what we're gonna do.
that's when they're banking on democracy to do what it does and majority rule. So,
Yep, exactly.
and two, what I mentioned Israel, and I'm not gonna get into like a whole spiel about them or anything, but I do think it's interesting, like when you look at things like APAC and the people that they're supporting, and people like Alex Karp, who's the CEO of Palantir, making like uh, statements about anti-Semitism. You see Christy Noam also doing the same thing.
Yes.
Israel is just another body of the problem as far as like I'm concerned. You get like in the very same way that we have the Democrats and Republicans always fighting with each other, they have the what was the Labor Party versus the Likud Party. The Labor Party, actually, ironically enough, just they're the left leaning party in Israel. They
Yeah.
just changed their name to the Democrats this year.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They formed a like a coalition with another smaller party and gave them some seating concessions, and now they're called the Democrats.
Interesting. Yeah, and then the Labor Party's like the British version of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you have the Likud, and this is where like it kind of comes together. Is the Labor Party was in charge of Israel for a lot of like the past 3 decades, where they believed in like a two-nation state and things like this, where it's like there is Zionism, but like in a controlled degree. The Likud party is the opposite, where they are like, we don't recognize Palestine. There is no such thing, and they're this total like, the greater Israel project and things like
Hmm.
that. And what's interesting is uh, just the other day on Piers Morgan, I heard Dan Bilzerian was on there, and
I saw.
that was a crazy episode.
I
But
know.
Piers Morgan made a statement where he said that Netanyahu had actually given billions of dollars to Hamas,
Oh,
and
that's 100% true.
yeah,
That's
and
100% true.
it's interesting when you think about it, because the Likud party is like Netanyahu's thing, and I think that once he funded Hamas to, you know, whoever Hamas actually is, I'm not so completely convinced that it's local Palestinians doing what they're
No, it's I
yeah,
know. I think it's just Israel. It was one of those thinking 20 steps ahead type deals, and Israel created
yeah,
Hamas. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like ever since the October 7th thing, the alt right, it just kind of seems to be marching in step with the Likud party and their doctrine. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's where like Peter Thiel jumps on board. He's like, "Wait, you're about to bomb a bunch of people? Yes, I'm a part of this. Let me in. I'm gonna get all my buddies in." And then all of those people form that coalition around Trump, and then that's how we're getting this like incestuous relationship between technocratic billionaires and like religious, extremist leaders and things like that.
Yeah, it's sort of like the modern day Halliburton, and people don't even realize it. They
Yeah,
see these guys as like geniuses, tech geniuses, when they're doing nothing but destruction at the end of the day.
yeah. It's actually funny because like looking through everything that Elon Musk has ever done, uh none of his work is original. Like he's
No.
not engineering a single thing. He bought Tesla, like it was
Yep.
already started.
Yep.
Starlink is, just an offshoot of 1,000 other satellite programs and
Yep.
HughesNet.
Yep.
um
Funded
and
by the Pentagon. Like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
everyone is saying that he's like a Tony Stark type, but really he comes across to me as more of like a Bernie Madoff.
Yeah.
So
Do you think that guys like Elon and Peter Thiel do you think that they control a lot of the alt-right media personalities, like
I think
actually directly?
yes, actually, I'm convinced that this whole like post-COVID uh, wave that's come of like things on Rumble, Elon's purchase of Twitter, looking at how integral, I guess everyone assumes Joe Rogan's interview with Trump was versus Kamala not going on. All of this stuff can actually be traced right back. Like you have Chris Buskirk, who has ties to Rebecca Mercer from like the Cambridge Analytica scandal back in 2016, where her and Peter Thiel, went in on that. You can see right here, Palantir worked with Cambridge Analytica on the Facebook data it acquired. Um, and let me see if I can find it. But you start to get into like Trump Media and Truth Social, Rumbles down here. You have Strive, which is Vivek Ramaswamy's like anti woke DEI funding thing. Um, because Truth Social is owned by and large by Howard Lutnick after Trump had to basically get rid of it to help pay for his court fees, which I think was also a whole other dog and pony show.
Yep, me too.
Same thing with Alex Jones. Ironically enough, he announced that InfoWars, I guess, is over today, and I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
well,
I actually on the last episode I kind of was touching on some of that Alex Jones stuff, and it's just weird timing that over the past year he's taken this course, and at the same time all of the lawsuit stuff is happening, and it's like, okay, how are those two things tied?
do you want to know my completely like no evidence, no
Yeah, yeah,
basis
yeah.
of? So I believe that Alex Jones was first of all, I've seen firsthand videos of him talking about like his dad having connections to the CIA and
Sure.
things like that. But
And
um,
Bill Cooper was very
yeah,
suspicious of him as well.
exactly. And there's another conspiracy theory I've seen where people think that Bill Hicks faked his death and became Alex Jones. I don't know about that one.
I know that's a little far fetched
Yeah,
for me, but
it's fun to entertain, but
yeah.
for me, Alex Jones, I think is like sort of like a false shepherd in that he's there to make conspiracy theorists look like nut jobs and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. I
Mm-hmm.
remember 2001, the day that 9/11 happened, he was saying, this was Mossad
Yeah,
absolutely did that. And now he just says globalist, and that can
I
be
know.
anyone he disagrees with.
I know. It really started shifting like two-ish years ago. I saw like it really changed.
Yeah, and I honestly think that the whole, I don't know if I can say the school name, but the school thing that he was criticizing that
Yes.
he's gotten a lot of trouble for.
Yeah. It's on here you can. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think that he chose to look into the Sandy Hook thing because they saw that there was narratives online, and by punishing him for that with an insurmountable fine, they made an example of him saying, if you question anything that we do, we're
100%.
we're gonna strip you of it. But he's gonna be fine. Like I guarantee you, he's not hurting. He's got some sort of money stored away somewhere. This wasn't a we're taking everything from you to punish you. This was, if you don't go along with this narrative of not questioning everything or you'll get sued, then we'll just kill you. And I
Yeah,
I
well, I
think that
mean, look at who he's basically abandoned, his original audience. He's basically abandoned for a more mainstream audience now. And he's never critical of Elon Musk or Donald Trump. And best friends with Joe Rogan. So he's in
yeah,
that club now.
yeah, I think it's a true testament to see where his priorities lie when he'll interrupt what is supposed to be like world changing news to sell you a couple shirts or vitamins. It's
Yeah.
it it's funny. It turns real quick from the world's about to end to a 5 minute QVC
Well,
segment.
we can't survive without you type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
How do you feel about some of the more independent journalists out there, who aren't necessarily affiliated with a platform or a network or anything? How do you feel about some of those who kind of got like famous overnight? Um, do you think that there might be a correlation there to Peter Thiel?
I 1000% do. The mindset that I'm kind of approaching this with is, why would we continue to prop up this giant propaganda machine of news outlets and movies and music and talking heads that's costing us millions of dollars when we could fund grassroots talking heads and get these people elevated up into a position where they're doing it, we're paying them $2,000 a week as opposed to 20 million a month to run a whole studio. And like what one of the biggest ones that comes to mind to me is Ian Carroll. You
Yeah,
know,
that's exactly who I was thinking. Because you and I have kind of gone back and forth a little bit about that. And in the last episode I said, there's controlled opposition, then there's uncontrolled opposition, and then there's uncontrolled opportunists. And
mm-hmm.
I don't know which one he is, but it just doesn't make sense that he's allowed to get away with the things that he's allowed to get away with when all the other independent journalists in similar categories who are 100% legit are completely shadow banned. None of that makes sense. And then he does these deep dive researches just the way that you are right here. I mean, he's clearly an intelligent guy, clearly capable, but he doesn't want to really dig into the Peter Thiel Palantir thing and the Israel thing. He'll be outspoken about it, but then he's fully supporting Donald Trump, who is 100% a Zionist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's blatantly obvious when you can tell that somebody is avoiding the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Um, since July, I have been commenting on his posts like very regularly to say like, hey, why don't you do a video on Peter Thiel? Why don't you do one on JD Vance? Did you know that Trump was actually connected to this? Or I think it was a couple weeks ago, he talked about how the Adelsons had given like this massive donation to the Democratic Party. And I was like, you do realize that Trump got 100 million from them directly. And in that same post, he had said, but he's not beholden to the deep state. And I was like, this is a lie. You're
Laughable. That
yeah,
laughable. That you and to say that so surely, even if that's his opinion, you have no freaking proof of that. That is an
yeah.
opinion. There's no proof of that.
Yeah, he'll be saying that it's a long con all the way up until the point where we're getting mandated chips in our head, and he's like, "No, trust
Seriously.
me, he's gonna switch."
Oh my gosh.
Um,
And
now,
there is still a I lean more towards he's getting paid off by somebody,
yeah,
but there is a possibility that he is just really naive, and that's just as dangerous. These people who have such influence and are shifting people's perspectives when they really don't know their ass from their face. Like
yeah,
they don't know what's going on, and even if they're well meaning, they're leading the masses to slaughter.
yeah. It's it's honestly a little concerning because I don't know if you saw when Ian did the debate, I guess you would say, with Derek Bros.
I did. I watched the whole thing. I was cleaning my house and listened to the whole thing, I should say. Yeah.
The most interesting piece of that to me was when Derek started to press him on like the Peter Thiel stuff. Not only did Ian not say Peter Thiel's name the entire interview, because I watched it twice,
Mm-hmm.
just to be sure. I'm gonna move myself back over here for just a moment
Okay.
and drop that web down. But in that, Ian explicitly stated, "I'm not a journalist." He repeated that like 3 or 4 times. Go to Ian's bio right now and tell
And it
me.
says journalist.
It says OSANT journalism.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you can't have your cake and eat it too, and parade yourself as this like bastion of truth until the truth is inconvenient for you. That's
Exactly.
not German. That's not journalism. That's propaganda.
Exactly.
Um, but I do know that like Ian got his start on TikTok.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, TikTok USDS runs on Oracle servers, which is run by Oracle's CEO is Larry Ellison, who has a joint investment in Mar-a-Lago and helped to buy that from Trump during his case against E. Jean Carroll or whatever her name was.
Okay.
Um, so TikTok is 3 points away from Donald Trump. That TikTok has a this entire program. It was called like Project Texas, which was when TikTok was getting sued basically for not being an American company.
Mm-hmm.
They created this whole new entity that is separate from TikTok called TikTok US, and it's all hosted on Oracle servers. So this was like a massive payout for somebody that is directly tied to Trump, even back in 2016. And that's why Trump's not stopping the TikTok thing.
Well, and in 2020, he was talking, wasn't he talking about like completely banning it?
Yeah.
Yeah, total BS.
Yeah. And then Biden said that he would ban it. And then now Trump's saying he won't. And it's really funny. Because looking into Mar-a-Lago, and this is me still talking about Ian, right? Because if he got his start on TikTok and was getting payouts there, Ken Griffin, Ken Griffin is associated with the GameStop stuff.
Okay.
He
Okay. I know Ian's talked a lot about the GameStop stuff. I haven't really followed that
Yeah.
much.
Um, so Ken Griffin is with Citadel LLC, which is like one of the major hedge funds that's supposed to be against GameStop and like betting and stuff. The CEO of GameStop is Ryan Cohen. Ryan Cohen got a huge payout from BlackRock directly for a company he started called Chewy, the
Mm-hmm.
pet
The
like
pet, yeah,
food
yeah.
accessory. Now, right after that, he had invested stocks in Bed Bath and Beyond, which declared bankruptcy last year.
Recently, yeah.
But in March of 2022, it was disclosed that Cohen had nearly a 10% stake in Bed Bath and Beyond, but he sold it between August 15th and 18th. August 24th, they get accused of a pump and dump scheme with Bed Bath and Beyond to artificially inflate the stock price, and then he sold all of his stock. And then the CFO of Bed Bath and Beyond jumps off of a building and kills himself.
Wow. This is
And
exactly why I feel like Americans should stop paying their taxes.
I agree.
Yeah. When I
It's
hear this stuff, I'm like, we're all getting so screwed. It's not even funny.
yeah, it's you're basically just picking which one's doing it.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
But with him like parading that whole GameStop stuff, I just see that as like another edge of like the crypto thing where it's just these people who are getting small time private investors over to these. It's like stocks with no accountability,
Yep.
you know.
Well, and let's dive into that a little bit because it seems like Ian is very pro crypto and you have very alternative views to that. So, I mean, it seems like he's actually pushing the technocratic agenda in a very subliminal way.
Yeah, and that's where you start to see that Ian has that same consistency of like let's pardon Edward Snowden, let's pardon Ross Ulbricht, and like all these virtue signaling like shallow gestures, and
Yeah.
let's talk about how Larry Fink is bad and George Soros is bad and this, that, and the other, but then doesn't talk about any of the other things, and that it's like a pattern. But crypto and Bitcoin specifically, I mean, I'm convinced it's a Ponzi scheme. If
Me too.
long story short, the United States has been dealing with like cryptography and stuff since we were trying to encode messages in World War II and World War One and things like that. There's actually an excellent thread that I found. It's this company. I'd have to double check for it. Give me 1 second because I don't want to
Okay.
misspeak. Um, let's see here. But there's ties to because with AG Crypto, what they were doing in the 20th century was they made these machines that promised to encrypt messages for secure communications between different governments, world governments, companies, and things like that. I forget who all they had billed them to, but I believe they had sold machines to both the Allied and Axis powers of World War II, like
Wow.
sitting there playing both sides, like Henry
Of
Ford
course.
when he was selling trucks to the Nazis while, supplying trucks to the US and stuff. Um, but it says that uh, there was a man named, he was a US Army soldier, and his last name was Friedman, and he was charged with evaluating foreign cryptographic machines for possible use. And in 1927, became acquainted with Hagelin's company AG Crypto, and they became friends, sharing a bond over their Russian heritage and passion for it. Together, they moved in 1940 over to the US, bringing their machines, and had produced over 140,000 units by the end of that year. And that, oh, it's Crypto AG. I apologize. Crypto AG
It's
was,
okay.
um, and essentially what was happening was, they were billing, hey, this is safe, it's uncrackable, there's no way to like see the back end or the ciphers that are used to unlock it all, which wasn't true because they were making machines for the United States government to decrypt the messages that were encrypted on the machines. And everyone wants to claim that, Bitcoin is unhackable and can't be messed with, but it's not even on the original blockchain that it used to be. Somebody forked it, and no one's supposed to be able to control it. Well, if that's the case, then who did that? Who forked it
Exactly.
from the blockchain?
Exactly. No, I think it's totally delusional to think some, anti-government dude was sitting in his basement creating this underground, you know, alternative system. I think it's delusional.
Yeah, and to me, it's all the people I see, speaking its praises. Well, we could use this instead of all the different currencies we have. It's all electronic and it's easy to hold. And it's like you realize you're just making the globalist argument for a one world currency, right?
Exactly.
And what
Exactly.
they think they're fighting it, but they're actually just embracing all of the things they think they're
Well,
against.
and then their argument often is the dollar is not really backed by anything either, and truthfully at the end of the day all money is not real. If you
Right.
really break it down, all currency is not real, but this system seems like it's taking us into a digital prison. I
Right.
mean, that's all I see.
Yeah, I'm not exactly a fan of our like current implementation of fiat currency, but if somebody
Neither.
crashes the dollar, somebody's responsible for that.
Exactly.
There's a whole socioeconomic, at least they have to go through the efforts of pretending all this shit is happening that's affecting the dollar first.
Yep.
With Bitcoin, you just send a group chat to all your buddies to coordinate a mass sell-off and the price tanks. And who is there to be mad at? Nobody. And that's the way
I
they want
know.
it. They'll
I
say, well,
know.
that's
I
just the
know. I mean,
market.
yeah. And I get people who, hit it right and they made money on it and they have positive feelings about it because of that. But that doesn't mean that there's not still an agenda behind it.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the same thing as the way that they pay off like media companies. It's the cost of doing business is they're gonna make a couple of people kind of wealthy. And that is pennies to them if it means the entire world adopts this system. They'll pay whoever they have to because then
Yeah.
they own it all, and then there is no going back.
So how do you feel about the brick system versus what our system looks like it's going to be?
Um, if I am being honest, I just see it as another like bread and circuses thing. It's
Yeah.
When you start to dig deep enough, you can see that there's early 19th century influence in Russia, the United States, most of Europe, China. Like they have all been friends with the same people over the last 100 years, and this is all just to keep their citizens, you know,
In line.
invested in the narrative of like, hey, we're fighting against something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, it just falls hand in hand with World War III,
yeah,
quite frankly.
yeah. I believe it Albert Pike that said that the Third World War would like include everybody and would be against the Jews and the Arabs, and it would
Yep,
exhaust the resources, energy, and time of like the whole world or something like that.
yep.
And he said that in 1800 something,
I know. I
which,
know.
which
It's
is
crazy.
insane.
So crazy. Well, is there anything that you want to end on?
Um, I would I would say that first of all, thank you, Kristen, for your time here
Yeah,
today.
for sure.
It doesn't feel like work, but I do know that I'm trying to stick to this a lot and get the truth out there and stuff, and just people like you noticing that and being willing to give me a platform,
Absolutely.
greatly appreciated. And
No problem.
if people want to go follow me, Seven Seas basically anywhere on the internet. And I would say just think for yourself. I would encourage people, maybe this lesser of two evil thinking that has never worked in my lifetime. Maybe we could try something new. And always question everyone. Even, I'm a huge fan of Thomas Massey, but at the end of the day, he is still a politician and he had to do something to get where he's at. And I've never disliked a thing he said, but to just blindly put your faith in people like that and give them that much power is exactly how we got into this spot in the first place.
I totally, totally agree. Well, that's it. And it's been really awesome chatting with you. I hope to do it again soon. I'm going to be following all of your web weaving on X, and I will talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks again, Kristen.
Thank you.